March 30th, 2018. A country album arrives in stores that sounds like nothing Nashville has heard before. Vocoders meet pedal steel. Disco beats collide with banjos. LSD-inspired introspection blends with Texas twang. The artist is a 29-year-old woman who had spent years being told she was too progressive, too quirky, too weird for country radio. Her previous singles barely cracked the charts. Industry insiders called her a critic's darling with a cult following. Code for doesn't sell. This new album was recorded above a horse barn, inspired by fresh love, a solar eclipse, and psychedelic trips. The title, Golden Hour. Country radio ignored it. They shipped 2 singles simultaneously. A desperate move that screamed uncertainty. Neither charted significantly. The album debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 with modest sales. And then something extraordinary happened. February 10th, 2019, the 61st Grammy Awards. Kacey Musgraves sits in a nude tulle Valentino gown, holding her husband's hand. When Alicia Keys announces Golden Hour as Album of the Year, Musgraves' face becomes an instant meme. She mouths, "What?" over and over, genuinely shocked. She beats Drake, she beats Cardi B, she beats Kendrick Lamar's Black Panther soundtrack. She becomes the first country artist to win Album of the Year in nearly a decade, and she does it with an album that defied every rule Nashville had written. Welcome to the Sound Vault. Every album has a story. This is Kacey Musgraves. To understand Golden Hour, you have to understand where Kacey Musgraves came from and what she was running from. Golden, Texas. Population 200, the kind of small town where everyone knows your business, where the gas station is the social hub, and where leaving feels like both betrayal and survival. Kacey Lee Musgraves was born August 21st, 1988. She arrived 6 weeks early during her mother's baby shower, a fact she'd later immortalize in song. Her parents ran a small printing business. There wasn't money for much, but there was always music. By age 8, she was writing songs. By 12, she'd recorded her first album, self-released, funded by whatever gigs she could hustle. She performed at rodeos, festivals, county fairs, anywhere that would let a kid with a big voice and bigger ambitions take the stage. But Golden was suffocating. The Friday night football games, the Sunday church services, the unspoken rules about how a good girl should act, who she should love, what she should believe. Musgraves moved to Austin at 18, then Nashville at 20. She spent years grinding, writing songs, playing songwriter nights at tiny venues, waiting for her break. It came in 2012. Mercury Nashville signed her. Her debut single, Merry Go Round, was a gut punch of small-town melancholy wrapped in gorgeous melody. Critics loved it. The song became a hit by country standards, though radio played it cautiously. Then came Follow Your Arrow in 2013. The third single from her debut album, Same Trailer Different Park. It was revolutionary for country music. Producer and songwriter Shane McAnally, who is openly gay, helped write it with Musgraves and Brandy Clark. The lyrics were direct. Make lots of noise, kiss lots of boys, or kiss lots of girls if that's your thing. The song openly embraced LGBTQ+ acceptance and marijuana use in a genre that typically avoided both topics like landmines. Conservative radio hosts exploded. Colorado pastor Kevin Swanson called it an abomination. Many country radio stations simply refused to play it. But something else happened. The song became a phenomenon. It peaked at number 10 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart, which includes streaming and sales, not just radio. It won Song of the Year at the 2014 CMA Awards, and it turned Musgraves into an icon, specifically for LGBTQ+ fans and young women who'd felt alienated by mainstream country. Musgraves wasn't trying to be provocative. She was being honest. In interviews, she admitted her own evolution. Growing up in rural East Texas, she'd laughed along when gay kids got bullied in high school. She'd been part of the problem. Then a best friend came out to her. She moved to Nashville and started hanging out at gay clubs. Her perspective completely changed. She felt guilty about who she'd been. Writing songs like Follow Your Arrow was redemption. But it came with a cost. Country radio essentially blacklisted her from that point forward. Her 2015 sophomore album, Pageant Material, received critical acclaim but minimal airplay. Songs about rejecting the good old boys club and refusing to conform didn't win her friends in the industry's conservative power structure. By 2016, Musgraves was at a crossroads. She'd built a devoted fan base. She could sell out clubs and theaters. Critics praised her songwriting, but she wasn't a radio star. She wasn't platinum, and she was in a creative rut. As she'd later tell interviewers, she felt lonely, uninspired, and like shit about herself. Then she met someone at the Bluebird Cafe. March 2016, Nashville's legendary Bluebird Cafe. Kacey Musgraves sits at a table listening to singer-songwriters perform. A young musician named Ruston Kelly takes the stage. He's from South Carolina by way of Belgium and Michigan, a wanderer with a haunted past. He'd been an Olympic-level figure skater as a child. He'd battled addiction. He'd nearly died from an overdose in 2015. Kelly plays his first song. Musgraves starts crying. I was just stunned by everything in it. The words, the melody, what he was saying, she'd later tell reporters. I was just sitting at this table crying. After his set, she introduced herself. They exchanged numbers. A few months later, Kelly came to her house to write a song together. They never finished the song. They started dating instead. For Musgraves, it felt like Dorothy opening the door in The Wizard of Oz, the world turning from black and white to color. For the first time, she was writing love songs. Real ones. Songs that felt true. Kelly proposed on Christmas Eve 2016 in Musgraves' childhood home, the same pink room where she'd played with Barbies and ponies as a kid. They married in October 2017 on a Tennessee farm, in a barn with 200 guests. Kelly wrote original music for her to walk down the aisle. And on August 21, 2017, Musgraves' 29th birthday, something else happened. A total solar eclipse crossed the United States. Musgraves and Kelly watched it together. In that moment of cosmic alignment, of celestial beauty, of the moon perfectly blocking the sun, Musgraves had a revelation. It felt like this majestic time where God was saying, this is a moment to be present for, to witness and relish in the beauty of this incredible world, she'd later explain. The phrase golden hour came to her, that magical time just after sunrise or before sunset when light is soft, warm, perfect. Photographers chase it, lovers linger in it, it's fleeting and precious. Musgraves was living in her own golden hour, professionally successful enough to have creative freedom, personally fulfilled for the first time, young enough to take risks. She decided to make an album about it. For her first two albums, Musgraves had worked with producer Shane McAnally and songwriter Luke Laird, both hitmakers with serious Nashville credentials. For Golden Hour, she wanted something different. She wanted to take risks. She wanted collaborators who wouldn't push her toward radio-friendly formulas. Enter Ian Fitchuk and Daniel Tashian. Fitchuk was a multi-instrumentalist and producer who'd worked in Nashville's underground indie scene. He played bass, drums, piano, and guitar. He'd produced for artists like Mindy Smith and Landon Pig, critical favorites without major commercial success. Tashian was a songwriter and producer best known for his band Silver Seas. His father was a country musician. He'd grown up surrounded by the genre but had gravitated toward pop and rock. Neither was an obvious choice for a country album. That's exactly why Musgraves chose them. Maren Morris had recommended Fitchuk after nearly working with him herself. Musgraves called both men and proposed they write and produce together. They started with 5 songs. The chemistry was immediate. It was really about trust, Fitchuk later explained. Kacey and her label allowed us room to grow and blossom during the writing process. There was no formula. They set up shop at multiple Nashville studios, including one with special significance, Sheryl Crow's Big Green Barn, a recording space above her horse stable. Crow herself would occasionally drop by sessions, offering encouragement and perspective. For Musgraves, it was surreal. Crow was the epitome of an artist who'd succeeded by being authentic, whose records didn't sound dated because they were genuine. The sessions were collaborative but Musgraves-driven. She'd bring in song titles, concepts, emotions. The three would build from there. Tashian and Fitchuk would create elaborate productions, layered, complex, ornate. Then Musgraves would strip them down. She earned the nickname Axeman in the studio because she'd delete so many tracks. I learn a lot by deletion, she explained. That's my biggest tool in the studio. I love to load tracks up and then start erasing until you find the perfect amount of space. The sonic palette was deliberately unconventional for country. They used vocoders, synthesizers, drum machines, disco beats. But they balanced it with traditional elements, pedal steel, banjo, acoustic guitar. I wanted to explore this new frontier with electronic elements, Musgraves told reporters. I just started imagining this land musically where it was possible to keep these elements of country music that are really intrinsic to my music, but explore something new. She referenced diverse influences. If Sade made a country album, what would it sound like? What if Imogen Heap produced Nashville? What if Daft Punk met Emmylou Harris? The genre bending was intentional. But there was another ingredient that made Golden Hour truly unusual. Psychedelics. One evening, Kacey Musgraves sat on her front porch with friends. They'd taken LSD, a deliberate therapeutic choice. She was 29 years old. She'd smoked marijuana since her early 20s and never hid it. She'd referenced it in songs. She'd told interviewers that what people do with their own bodies is their own choice. But LSD was different, more profound, more cosmic. As she later told Rolling Stone, "I'm not going to tell anybody to run out and do anything that wouldn't be suitable for their mind or their lifestyle. But it did have positive effects for me. During that trip, insights flooded in. She felt connected to the universe. She thought about time zones, how it could be sunset in Tennessee while people in Beijing were heading to work. She felt gratitude for her mother, her husband, her life. Colors seemed more vibrant. Flowers demanded attention. She grabbed her phone and typed notes, ideas, phrases, emotions. The next day, sober, she and her collaborators turned those notes into songs. Slow Burn emerged from that experience. The opening track of Golden Hour. It's a meditation on taking life at your own pace. Born in a hurry, always in a hurry. But maybe it's okay to slow down. Look at all the flowers. Notice the beauty. Tashian and Fitchuk initially created an elaborate, busy production for Slow Burn. Lots of layers, Asian influences, Indian sounds. Musgraves vetoed most of it. She wanted simplicity, space, room to breathe. The result is deceptively simple. Acoustic guitar, subtle percussion, Musgraves' reedy voice. It sounds effortless. It sounds like someone who's finally figured out how to be present. Then there's Mother, the album's shortest track at just over a minute. Musgraves wrote it in 15 minutes, while on LSD, at a piano. It's a raw emotional outpouring, bursting with empathy, feeling everything, tears coming out. It's the music in me, all of the colors, yellow, red, orange, green, and at least a million others. She apologizes to her mother for the tears. Hope my tears don't freak you out. And thanks her. For everything. For bringing her into this world. For the love. It's unpolished, vulnerable, borderline embarrassing in its openness. And it's beautiful. When Musgraves posted on Instagram that she'd written Mother while tripping on acid, some fans were shocked. Others understood. Psychedelics were being studied for therapeutic use. Silicon Valley entrepreneurs microdosed for creativity. Artists had used them for decades. Musgraves wasn't advocating irresponsible drug use. She was honest about her creative process. And that honesty extended to everything on Golden Hour. As Golden Hour took shape throughout 2017, each song added a piece to the album's emotional puzzle. Oh, What a World emerged as the album's mission statement. With its robotic vocoder opening and trippy lyrics, it celebrates existence itself. This world is beautiful and strange. Don't wanna leave. Northern Lights, plants that change your mind, the randomness of meeting your soulmate. The vocoder was a deliberate choice, a callback to Pete Drake's 1960s talkbox effects, but filtered through Daft Punk futurism. Musgraves wanted future meets tradition. Butterflies became the first real love song she'd ever written. Co-written with Luke Laird and Natalie Hemby, it captures new love's nervous excitement. The butterflies in stomach metaphor rendered literal. Kissing in the kitchen like it's a dance floor. High school level emotions in adult relationships. Space Cowboy provided counterpoint, a goodbye to a previous relationship. Musgraves' ex, Wyclef Jean's protege? No. This was about moving on, making room, letting someone ride off into the sunset. You can have your space, cowboy. The pedal steel weeps gorgeously. It's as close to an Emmylou Harris classic as any modern artist has come. Then, High Horse, the album's wildcard. Pure disco, 4-on-the-floor beat, funky guitar, a takedown of someone with misplaced ego. Giddy up and ride straight out of this town. It's campy, fun, and completely unexpected on a country album. When they first played it for label executives, there was silence. This was too weird, too risky. Country radio would never touch it. Musgraves didn't care. High Horse stayed. Velvet Elvis paid tribute to Rustin Kelly, a love song about worship, about finding someone who hangs in your heart like art on a wall. Wonder Woman explored strength in vulnerability. Happy and Sad acknowledged that both emotions could coexist simultaneously, a concept that became the album's unofficial thesis. And Rainbow, the album's closer, offered hope. When life feels dark, there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. Hold tight to your umbrella. Churches would later change the lyrics to make Rainbow about God. But Musgraves wrote it as a message to anyone struggling, especially her LGBTQ+ fans who'd embraced her as an ally. Throughout recording, Musgraves' sister Kelly Christine Sutton designed the album packaging and shot the cover photo. Over 2 days in Golden, Texas, they experimented with a paper fan, Musgraves' face peeking out, kaleidoscopic images overlaying her against an enormous blue Texas sky. The image perfectly captured the album's essence. Rooted in tradition, the small-town Texas setting, but transformed through new perspective, the psychedelic coloring, the unconventional framing. By late 2017, Golden Hour was finished. Musgraves and her team delivered it to MCA Nashville, and then they held their breath. Here's what country radio wanted in early 2018. Bro country anthems about trucks and beer, Luke Bryan, Florida Georgia Line, Kane Brown. Male voices dominated the airwaves. Female artists were largely shut out. A radio consultant named Keith Hill had infamously advised in 2015 that women should comprise no more than 15% of country playlists, that they were the tomatoes in the salad, not the lettuce. The comment sparked outrage. But the practice continued. When radio programmers first heard Golden Hour, they didn't know what to do with it. Too slow, too weird, too electronic, not country enough. The vocoder on Oh What a World? The disco beat on High Horse? What was this? And Musgraves herself was a problem. She'd been too outspoken, too progressive. She'd called out the industry's sexism. She'd performed at LGBTQ+ benefits. She'd admitted to drug use. Some programmers whispered, off the record, never for attribution, that Musgraves hadn't been friendly enough to radio, that she didn't seem to care about airplay, that she acted like she was above pandering. It was classic circular logic. Radio wouldn't play her because she was too different, but also because she hadn't begged hard enough, and because she was a woman in a format that barely played women anyway. MCA Nashville made a bold, or desperate, decision. They'd release 2 singles simultaneously to radio, Butterflies and Space Cowboy. Releasing 2 singles at once is unusual. It suggests uncertainty. It hedges bets. It admits you don't know which song will connect. Neither charted significantly. Butterflies is gorgeous, arguably one of Musgraves' best songs. Radio shrugged. Space Cowboy is a perfect country single, traditional enough to fit format, excellent enough to become a standard. Radio ignored it. When Musgraves appeared on Saturday Night Live to promote the album, she performed High Horse and Slow Burn, neither of which were official singles. It was a statement. She wasn't playing the game. Some industry insiders criticized the strategy. If Musgraves wanted radio play, why wasn't she promoting the radio singles? Why was she making it harder? Others defended her. She's doing this on her own terms, her team would say. The music will find its audience. Meanwhile, music critics were having a very different reaction. March 30th, 2018. Golden Hour is released. The reviews are immediate and ecstatic. Rolling Stone, gorgeous and groundbreaking. The Guardian, 5 stars. Regardless of genre, you'll be hard-pushed to find a better collection of pop songs this year. Everything clicks perfectly. NPR. Warm and enveloping, pitched halfway between heartbreak and healing. Stereogum. The melody is so gorgeously wistful, the wordplay so subtly pristine, the heartache so profound. Metacritic aggregates reviews, 89 out of 100. Universal acclaim. The album debuts at number 4 on the Billboard 200 with 49,000 album equivalent units. Not massive numbers, but solid, respectable. More importantly, it debuts at number 1 on the Top Country Albums chart, and at number 1 on the Americana Folk Albums chart. Critics who typically ignore country music take notice. Pop critics, rock critics, indie music websites, they all praise Golden Hour as something special. The BBC's end-of-year poll ranks it the best album of 2018. The Village Voice's Paz and Job Critics poll puts it at number 1. Fans respond too. Not in massive commercial numbers, not initially, but with intense devotion. Concert venues sell out. Social media fills with testimonials. LGBTQ+ fans wave pride flags at shows. Young women find anthems. And gradually, industry recognition begins building. November 2018. The CMA Awards. Golden Hour wins Album of the Year. Musgraves beats Chris Stapleton, the format's most reliable award winner. She wears a black Versace suit with gold beaded fringe. She looks like a cosmic cowgirl. In her acceptance speech, she's gracious and slightly stunned. This is validation from Nashville's establishment. The genre that ignored her on radio just crowned her at its biggest ceremony. Then the Grammy nominations arrive in December. 4 nominations: Album of the Year, Best Country Album, Best Country Solo Performance for Butterflies, Best Country Song for Space Cowboy. Album of the Year is the big one, the all-genre category. The award that says, this is the best music created this year, period. Musgraves is nominated alongside Drake's Scorpion, Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy, Kendrick Lamar's Black Panther soundtrack, Post Malone's Beer Bongs and Bentleys, Her's self-titled album, Janelle Monáe's Dirty Computer, and Brandi Carlile's By the Way, I Forgive You. It's stiff competition, massive sellers, cultural phenomena. The smart money is on Drake or Cardi B. Nobody thinks Kacey Musgraves will win. February 10, 2019, Los Angeles, the Staples Center, the 61st Annual Grammy Awards. Kacey Musgraves arrives in a nude tulle gown from Valentino's 2018 Haute Couture Spring Collection. It's romantic, ethereal, and, as she tells reporters, actually comfortable, which is rare for formal wear. She's styled carefully. The dress reminds her of a fan, a nod to the Golden Hour album cover. She sits with Rustin Kelly. They hold hands. They're 2 years into marriage. He's her muse. She's living the golden hour she sang about. Early in the ceremony, Musgraves wins Best Country Solo Performance for Butterflies, then Best Country Song for Space Cowboy, the single that radio wouldn't play, then Best Country Album. 3 for 3. A clean sweep of the country categories. But Album of the Year feels impossible. The competition is too strong, the commercial numbers too big. Musgraves performs Rainbow during the show. Just her voice and piano. Simple, powerful, emotional. She wears a sparkling gown and gets a standing ovation. She participates in a tribute to Dolly Parton, her idol, a woman who'd also bent country music to her will. Musgraves sings Here You Come Again with Katy Perry. Later she joins an all-star sing-along of 9 to 5. The ceremony drags on. 4 hours of performances and speeches and awards. Finally, near midnight, host Alicia Keys prepares to announce Album of the Year. The camera finds Musgraves and Kelly in their seats. They look nervous, hopeful, resigned to probably losing. Keys opens the envelope. Golden Hour. Kacey Musgraves. The audience erupts. Musgraves' face becomes instantly iconic. Her mouth drops open. She puts her hands to her face. She mouths, "What?" over and over. "What? What?" Kelly covers his face with both hands, overwhelmed. Then he breaks into a huge smile. They stand. They kiss. The audience gives them a standing ovation. Musgraves walks to the stage still mouthing, "Oh my God! Oh my God! What?" By the time she reaches the microphone, she's barely composed. She hesitates to even take the trophy from Alicia Keys. "Oh my God, I don't even know what to say," Musgraves stammers. It was unbelievable to be even in a category with such gigantic albums, really brilliant works of art. It's really crazy. She pauses, collecting herself. "But I'm very thankful. And I know that winning this doesn't make my album any better than anybody else's in that category. They're all so good." She thanks her team, her creative collaborators, her label for trusting the vision. And then she thanks Kelly. "I love my husband so much, and this album wouldn't have been created without you." She's emotional, genuine, completely without artifice. "Life is tumultuous right now," she continues. "And because of that, art is really thriving. I'm really lucky to have a trustworthy team who are honest with me." The speech is brief, heartfelt, perfect. Backstage afterward, she's still in shock. "The weight of this won't hit me for a really long time," she tells reporters. "To say that something I'm part of is the best out of a year, in a year which was thriving with creativity, uniqueness, bold creators stepping out, that's huge." The reaction to Musgraves' win is complicated. Many celebrate. Country music fans are thrilled that the genre won Album of the Year for the first time since Taylor Swift's Fearless in 2010. Music critics feel vindicated. They'd been championing Golden Hour since its release. LGBTQ+ fans are ecstatic. Their ally, their champion, just won music's biggest prize while being openly supportive of their community. But there's also backlash. Some hip-hop fans are angry. Drake and Cardi B had massive commercial success. The Black Panther soundtrack was culturally significant. How did an album that sold modestly beat genuine phenomena? The criticism centers on familiar Grammy patterns. The Recording Academy is old, white, out of touch. They vote for safe choices over culturally important work. Musgraves catches some of this criticism unfairly. She didn't ask to win. She seemed as shocked as anyone. Some country purists also grumble. Golden Hour isn't really country, they say. It's pop with some country elements. If you're going to honor country music, honor actual country. The debate is old and tired. What is country music? Who gets to define it? Why are the goalposts always moving, especially for women? More interesting is the radio question. After the Grammy win, MCA Nashville makes one more push. They send Rainbow to country radio in February 2019. This time stations can't ignore it. 53 stations added to their playlists immediately. The song climbs the charts, but it stalls. Rainbow peaks at number 19 on the country airplay chart, then falls off entirely by June. Even winning Album of the Year at the Grammys, music's highest honor, can't crack country radio's resistance to Kacey Musgraves. A Washington Post article investigates, why won't radio play her? The reasons vary depending on who's asked. Some programmers claim the music doesn't test well with audiences. The songs are too slow, not upbeat enough for summer driving. Others admit, quietly, that Musgraves hasn't cultivated relationships with radio programmers. She hasn't done the schmoozing, the golf outings, the friendship building that country radio expects. There's also the gender issue. By 2019, studies show that Kenny Chesney, the most played male artist, has received nearly double the radio spins of Carrie Underwood, the most played female artist. The system is rigged against women. Musgraves is just the highest profile example, but she doesn't seem to care. If radio wants to play it, that will make me happy, she tells interviewers. But getting anyone to like or play the music will never affect the way it comes out. It will be what it will be. She tours relentlessly. The Oh What a World tour sells out across 2 legs. From Oslo to Los Angeles, from London to Japan. She plays festivals. She opens for Harry Styles. She headlines her own shows. The album eventually sells over 735,000 units in the United States. It's certified platinum in May 2021. And in 2020, Rolling Stone ranks Golden Hour at number 270 on its updated list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. For an album that country radio barely touched, that's extraordinary. But there's a shadow side to this story. A tragedy hiding behind the triumph. Kacey Musgraves and Rustin Kelly filed for divorce in July 2020, less than 3 years after getting married, less than 18 months after Grammy night. The joint statement is carefully worded. They made the painful decision together. With heavy but hopeful hearts, they're moving forward separately. In later interviews, Musgraves is more honest. If you would have told me the night of the Grammys, hey, in 2 years you're going to be divorced and have a whole nother album written, I would have been like, fuck off. No way, she tells Elle magazine. She describes feeling isolated in her marriage despite career success. I felt in many ways on top of the world in my career, but in my personal life, I felt like I was dying inside. I was crumbling. I was sad. I felt lonely. I felt broken. The pandemic exposed what touring had hidden. When they were finally home together full-time, the cracks showed. Seasons change, she says simply. Our season changed. The revelation is bittersweet. Golden Hour, the album inspired by new love, by honeymoon bliss, by that perfect moment of connection, documented a relationship that couldn't last. Does that diminish the album? Make it less true? No. If anything, it makes it more poignant. Golden hours are fleeting by definition. That's what makes them precious. Musgraves channels her divorce into another album, Star-Crossed, released in 2021. Produced again by Ian Fitchuk and Daniel Tashian, it's structured like a Greek tragedy. The songs explore heartbreak, disillusionment, regret. But she's conflicted about performing Golden Hour material. I'm going to have to sing Golden Hour for the rest of my life, she tells Crack magazine. I could choose to be an asshole to my fans and not sing it, but I don't want to do that to people who come dying to hear a song they love. She says she may have to disassociate a little bit while singing those songs, but she's also finding new meaning in them. The optimism of Golden Hour becomes complicated through the lens of divorce, but it remains true to the moment it was created. That's what matters, and the album's influence keeps expanding. Golden Hour changed what was possible in country music. Not overnight, not dramatically, but permanently. The album proved that a country artist could ignore radio, embrace genre blending, and still achieve the industry's highest honor. It showed that authenticity and artistic vision could triumph over commercial calculation. For younger artists, especially women, it opened doors. Maren Morris, already established but fighting her own battles with country radio, found validation. She'd been experimenting with pop crossover on songs like The Middle with Zedd. Golden Hour proved that genre bending wasn't betrayal. Ingrid Andress, Mickey Guyton, Gabby Barrett, Tennille Townes, a new generation of female country artists emerged in Golden Hour's wake, all more willing to push boundaries. Even established artists took notice. Brandi Clark, who'd co-written Follow Your Arrow, saw her own profile rise. The Highwomen, a supergroup featuring Maren Morris, Brandi Carlile, Natalie Hemby, and Amanda Shires, formed partly inspired by Musgraves' success. The album's sonic influence spread beyond country. Listen to Lana Del Rey's Norman fucking Rockwell from 2019. There's the same lush, spacious production. The same willingness to let songs breathe. Listen to Taylor Swift's Folklore and Evermore. The stripped-down intimacy. The rejection of commercial formula. Swift explicitly praised Musgraves' authenticity. Even pop artists took note. The vocoder effects, the disco beats, the genre fluidity, all became more acceptable in mainstream country-adjacent music, and the LGBTQ+ impact cannot be overstated. When Musgraves performed at the 2019 CMA Awards, she brought drag queens on stage during Rainbow. The performance was emotional, powerful, and unprecedented. Country music's biggest ceremony featured drag performers and standing ovations. When she accepted her Album of the Year Grammy, she thanked the gays from the stage. A casual, loving acknowledgement that made her queer fans feel seen by music's biggest institution. Churches changed Rainbow lyrics to make it about God, but LGBTQ+ fans knew the truth. The song was for them, written by a straight ally who'd evolved from her small-town prejudices and dedicated herself to advocacy. Musgraves performed at LGBTQ+ benefits. She spoke out against discriminatory laws. She made gay clubs feel safe and celebrated at her concerts. In a genre that had historically been hostile to queer identity, this mattered enormously. But we need to address something uncomfortable. Golden Hour won Album of the Year over commercially bigger albums by artists of color. The debate about whether this was deserved or another example of Grammy bias is legitimate. Drake's Scorpion was a commercial juggernaut, 5.1 million equivalent album units in 2018. It dominated streaming. It produced multiple hit singles. Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy was groundbreaking, the first solo female rap album to win Best Rap Album. It was culturally significant and commercially massive. The Black Panther soundtrack was part of a cultural moment, a Marvel film celebrating African culture and black excellence that became a phenomenon. Golden Hour sold modestly in comparison, 49,000 units its first week versus Scorpion's 732,000. So why did it win? Grammy voters have always favored critical consensus over commercial success. Golden Hour achieved something rare. Near universal acclaim from music critics across genres. It appeared on virtually every Best of 2018 list. The album also benefited from crossover appeal. Country voters loved it. Pop voters loved it. Rock and indie voters loved it. It wasn't divisive, but there's also historical context. The Grammys have a long history of rewarding white artists over more commercially successful black artists. Beck beating Beyoncé in 2015, Taylor Swift beating Kendrick Lamar in 2016. Musgraves herself seemed uncomfortable with this narrative. "I know winning this doesn't make my album better than anyone else's," she said in her acceptance speech, an acknowledgement that the win was subjective, possibly problematic. She's also been clear that she doesn't control industry politics. She made the album she needed to make. If voters responded to it, that's on them. It's a complicated legacy. Golden Hour deserved recognition. It's a beautiful, innovative album. But whether it deserved the top recognition over culturally and commercially bigger works is legitimately debatable. Both things can be true. 7 years after its release, Golden Hour endures. The songs haven't dated. The production, despite its electronic elements, sounds timeless. The emotions remain universal. Slow burn is used in countless wedding videos. Butterfly's soundtrack's first dances. Rainbow comforts people during dark times. Churches still sing Rainbow, changing lyrics, unaware or uncaring that the song was written for queer acceptance. It's become bigger than its origins. High Horse gets played at parties. That disco beat still makes people dance. And Musgraves herself has evolved. After Starcrossed explored her divorce, she's moving forward. She's dated, she's toured extensively. She's become even more outspoken about industry sexism and creative freedom. In 2024, she released Deeper Well, another album that defies easy categorization. More stripped down than Golden Hour, more introspective. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. She's proven Golden Hour wasn't a fluke. She's an artist, not a one-album wonder. But Golden Hour remains her masterpiece. The album where everything aligned, where love and creativity and cosmic timing converged. Looking back, the album's title is almost prophetic. Golden hours don't last. The light changes, night falls. But the memory of that perfect light, that's eternal. Musgraves made an album during her golden hour. A period of her life when everything felt possible, when love felt new, when the world seemed beautiful and strange. That golden hour ended. Her marriage dissolved. The pandemic arrived. Life got complicated. But the album remains, frozen in amber, a permanent record of a fleeting moment. The story of Golden Hour is the story of an artist choosing truth over success, and finding both. Kacey Musgraves could have made a safe country album in 2018, radio-friendly singles, traditional production, songs that wouldn't challenge anyone. Instead, she made a psychedelic country album inspired by LSD and new love. She used vocoders and disco beats. She sang about acceptance and vulnerability and taking life slow. Country radio ignored her. Industry insiders called it too weird. Executives worried it was career suicide, and then it won Album of the Year at the Grammys. The win validated everyone who'd ever felt too different, too weird, too progressive for their genre or community or small town. It proved that authenticity could triumph, that taking creative risks could be rewarded, that an artist could ignore the rules and still win. But the story is also a reminder that golden hours don't last, that the relationships inspiring art can dissolve, that triumphs come with complications. Musgraves won Album of the Year, but her marriage fell apart. She achieved her career peak, but faced backlash and controversy. She made a perfect album, but radio still wouldn't play it. Success is messy, art is complicated, genius exists alongside failure. And maybe that's the point. Golden Hour works because it captures a moment, beautiful, fleeting, imperfect. It doesn't pretend golden hours last forever. It celebrates them while they're here. In an industry that demands constant productivity, that treats artists like content machines, Musgraves made one perfect album and then moved on. She didn't try to recreate Golden Hour. She couldn't. That moment passed. Instead, she made new albums about new feelings. Heartbreak, growth, evolution. She keeps creating, keeps pushing boundaries, keeps refusing to be boxed in. And that's the real legacy of Golden Hour. Not the Grammy, not the sales, not the critical acclaim. It's the reminder that artists can be authentic and successful, that country music can evolve, that golden hours exist, brief and precious and transformative. That 8-month pregnant woman lying on a studio floor recording Can't Take My Eyes Off You in 1998. That was Lauryn Hill capturing her golden hour. This 29-year-old woman in 2017, sitting on her front porch on LSD, marveling at flowers? That was Kacey Musgraves capturing hers. Golden hours come for all of us, if we're paying attention, if we're brave enough to notice, if we're willing to hold them gently and let them go. Kacey Musgraves held hers just long enough to make something beautiful. And when that perfect light faded, as it always does, she didn't chase it. She moved forward. She created something new. That's the lesson of Golden Hour. Not that perfect moments last forever, but that we can honor them, capture them, share them, and then let them go. This has been The Sound Vault. Every album has a story. And some stories, like golden hours themselves, shine brightest just before the darkness comes.